Hello, Molly here on the Say It Skillfully podcast and the 42nd feature episode of Our Voices, an in-depth look into unique life journeys you may find quite unexpected. We'll discuss ways to inspire and enact social change that level the playing field and help everyone live to their full potential. I encourage you to listen with an open mind to this account of what it means to grow up, struggle, work, learn, and live in our world. My guest learned early in life what it means to hold one's truth with courage and grace. Her life's work has been about creating what she once needed, spaces where young people feel fully seen, deeply valued, and able to lead from who they are. She bridges the wisdom of elders with the curiosity of children, honoring tradition while boldly reimagining what learning can be. Known for her steady presence and unwavering belief in human potential, she guides schools and families through change in a way that is both grounded and soulful. She is the author of Winning Leadership Teams, and her leadership shows us how community can be transformative when every voice matters. She was recognized as the Atlanta Business Chronicle's Most Admired CEO in 2024 for her leadership in education. And I am delighted to welcome the mighty Mini'imah Shaheed. Mini'imah, welcome to Say It Skillfully.
Thank you, Molly. So beautiful to be here with you.
It is such a joy. So we have to do a shout out to the International Women's Forum because I had the absolute privilege to facilitate the cohort that Mini'imah is part of, which is 38 unbelievably bright lights from all over the world in this spectacular women's leadership development program. So shout out to the IWF folks. I know it was very moving for you, and I know you're still processing it, Mini'imah, but is there anything you want to share with listeners just about maybe, it was not that long ago, less than a month, but probably feels like it's been a long time that you've known these people.
Yes. It feels like forever, like a true sisterhood, which is incredible because this is not the first leadership program I've been a part of. I've been a part of many awesome ones, incredible ones. This one just felt uniquely different. And I don't know if it was the women-centered aspect of it, if it was the global nature of it, if it was all of that and everything in between. I shared a reflection on my LinkedIn that, the um, reflection that it prompted was, I just sort of said, wow, okay, I've been a rose that grew through concrete, really some really gritty, tough experiences and a rose nonetheless. And I never judged the concrete because I'm like, I'm just a rose that exists. Thank God I'm a rose. But being in that environment, the reflection that I took away is like, wow, but what if I could be a rose that grew in a garden now at this point in my career and life's journey? Because it truly felt like a garden.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A rose that grew through concrete. That's an awesome metaphor. I'm going to have to really process that. So, folks, I'm just really excited for all our listeners to just get a chance to know you a little bit. So, will you take us through your life journey, however you would like?
Ooh. So I'm a Cali girl, born and raised. Yep. I say East Oakland, California, which is, if I were to put it all together, it is the birthplace of, some folks will know these references, but it's the birthplace of the Black Panther Party, birthplace of Too Short, who is a modern hip hop or rap artist. And so I sort of had the best of both of those worlds, as well as growing up Muslim and being a part of a beautiful Islamic community there. All of that poured in, made Mini'imah, the 17-year-old who ultimately went off to, as a first generation, following my sister, to the East Coast, Philadelphia, to the University of Pennsylvania as a first gen. And whoo, culture shock. Yeah.
So, let me just back up though. Tell me about growing up as a kid. How would you describe yourself as a kid? Were you playful? Were you studious? And, did you feel like you kind of fit in that East Oakland community?
I certainly fit in. Yes. Of it's so interesting because, you can be surrounded by something, not fully be of it, but certainly be made by it and all the things. I think that was my experience. If I had to reflect on the little girl Mini'imah, I often saw myself as very shy, reserved, timid, and then my family reflects a different. They always say, I mean, I was a leader from a very early age, and they talk about leadership moments that I expressed very early on, and I just didn't really see myself as such. So I've always felt pretty shy and timid, but definitely um, shaped by East Oakland experiences.
So hopping on that plane, you head all the way east, and it wasn't exactly like you could jet back and forth a lot. So how did you feel landing?
I didn't know exactly. So I didn't jet back a lot. And actually, I dropped my son off to college, my firstborn, this past August. And there was a whole deal with the drop off. I mean, it lasted an entire week. And they had all of these activities, and then it culminated in these beautiful ceremonies. I mean, the ceremonies were incredible. But I after that, I called my mom. I said, "Mommy, who dropped me off at college?" I couldn't remember. Maybe I blocked it out of my mind or something. She said, "Nobody. You dropped yourself off at college." I said, "Well, how did I get bedding?" And she said, "I don't know. And I truly don't know how I got bedding because now it's a whole big ordeal, the college drop off experience." But no, somehow I made my way to the University of Pennsylvania. I did ultimately have bedding. And I made it through 4 years of just a lot of difference and rich experiences.
What did you study when you were at university?
So I went pre-med and the goal was, okay, growing up in a one-bedroom apartment with my mom, I said, okay, my job in college is to get some money and to break this cycle of generational poverty. And so I went pre-med, but I have always been a lover of the written word, the spoken word, and the English language. And after taking a few courses in that way, I knew what I was destined to do. So I was ultimately an English major.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
okay. So I'm curious your mom's perspective on this, right? Here she sees you going, and are you're like, I'm going to create a better life. I'm just wondering how she was cheering for you.
My mom is incredible to that point of, you know, watching her sacrifice growing up, 3 girls, my mom in a one-bedroom apartment, and she slept in a lazy boy recliner to so that my sisters and I could rotate in the bed one bedroom. And she, high school graduate, just she knew education was the way to shift our trajectories. And so she, with the resources and sort of agency that she had, found programming. So we were in a program called MESA, Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement at the UC Berkeley. And that program was instrumental just in terms of exposure and rigor. Um, and we were in a program called A Better Chance, which took me across the bridge each day during high school to Marin County, which is one of the most affluent counties in the country. And I would travel there on a bus called Kids on the Move and pull up next to my friends and classmates who were driving in Beamers and Mercedes. And
Oh, wow.
but that afforded me to go to the Branson School, which was an amazing high school experience. And then that is what took me on to the University of Pennsylvania. So all of the experiences that my mom forged and made a way for led me to first generation college going and graduate.
Amazing. Do you ever feel like you were proving something, or was it just like this is going to happen? There's no doubt in my mind. I'm just curious your own state, as a young person.
Hmm. I mean, luckily, so I say first generation because that is technically true, but I have a sister who's 3 years older, and he was walking the path just 1, 2 steps ahead of me. And so she went to Yale University. And, um, and so just being able to see her navigate, learn very quickly from all that she was encountering and navigating, I believe it helped me tremendously. So by the time I made it to Penn, I didn't feel like I didn't belong. I felt like I belonged through her belonging. But I did feel that I had something to prove. I certainly had something to prove.
Wow. Okay, so we're English major, and are you having a great time? Are you studious? Are you partying? What's your college
Uh,
experience like?
no, yeah, I think I was a bit of a lame. I look back on that. I'm like, girl, you should have done a bit more. I had a blast though, in my own way. I'm a homebody now. I think I was a dorm body then, if that was a thing. Um, And I had my own ways of participating in the experience. I was a part of the African American Art Alliance, or 4A, at the University of Pennsylvania, behind the scenes, helping to put on theater productions. That was really meaningful to me. So there was different ways that I showed up, but not quite partying per se.
Okay, so then as you know, you've gotten there, you're at a very prestigious school, you're kind of on the launch pad. And how did you figure out your first job out of school?
So, Molly, okay, so in my junior year, I was a part of 2 programs, one at Harvard Kennedy School, that was focused on policy. Then I was in a program at Phillips Exeter Academy, and that program was targeting uh, underrepresented college students entering into PhD programs.
Huh.
And through that program, they supported us with applying to PhD programs. And so I thought, after having that very beautiful experience, I said, I'm going to have a career in academia. And I applied to 9 graduate schools. I got accepted to 8 out of the 9 and got full rides to 3.
Uh-huh.
So my path was clear coming out of the summer following junior year. Clear on what I'm doing. And then in my senior year, we had a UPenn alumna, who was now a part of the Teach for America program. And she came in and she shared about her Teach for America experience and invited us to consider applying. And when she shared her story, I said, Teach for America. And it all came rushing in. I actually had Teach for America teachers when I was a junior high schooler in Oakland, California. And I just remember their joy and enthusiasm, and they were just uniquely different from, what you think of your typical profile of a teacher. And I said, wow, like, what if I could have an immediate impact coming out of undergrad? And so I applied and I put it up there as just the 10th application for what I might consider. And the rest is history. I got accepted and I decided to choose Teach for America.
Wow. And so was your first city, or where did you land?
So I tried to get back to Oakland. So try to get back home to my mom. Definitely have to leave Philly because Philly was far too cold. And I actually got placed in Atlanta, Georgia. So Teach for America, they'll take your preferences, but then they ultimately send you where they have the need. And at that
Right.
time, I got placed in Atlanta, Georgia, 2001. Yeah.
South is very different from the north.
Yes, and different from the West as well. So it was very different.
So great tough. I don't know a lot about how they put you in school, so I'm curious. I have to say, our teachers are among our most influential as young people, and sometimes it's very painful to hear what they have to go through, lack of salary, lack of resources, and what have you. So I'm really curious on your take on the schools and the school systems, and what we can be doing to serve our youth.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, salaries is definitely a start. My beginning salary, I'll never forget, it was $33,000 in 2001. You know, fresh out of undergrad, I was pleased with that. However, it really doesn't do justice. I mean, if you think about every single profession in the world comes out of someone who has had a teacher. So the lack of reverence for that professional field, it truly baffles me. It truly baffles me. And I understand the historical context that may have gotten us here, but in modern day, it just baffles me that we continue to not revere that profession in many ways, but certainly through compensation.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay, so subjects, I'm curious. And I had relatives who were teaching, and they were very frustrated at the time because they felt like a lot of the kids actually needed parenting. And they're
Hmm.
like, their higher order need was the parenting. I'd like to be educating more. So I'm curious the grades and just, the types of students you had a chance to work with.
Yes. I mean, so everybody's pointing the fingers at everyone else. It really, I mean, but then we'll say, we point the fingers and then we'll say it takes a village. The truth is, it takes a village. And everybody has a part to play in that. So it doesn't fall on the parents alone. It doesn't fall on the school alone. It is truly a village endeavor. But so I was entrusted with teaching a small class. I had 13 students, and they were a part of the early intervention program.
Mm.
So this is before students are even eligible to be diagnosed with a learning disability. I taught second grade, and but they have some learning challenges. And I had all boys and two girls in the class as a 21-year-old. And but I fell in love. I fell in love with, being able to be a true difference maker. It's a choice. But if you have the desire and the drive and the will and determination, you can truly be a difference maker. And realizing that is a radical responsibility. It's also for me like super enlivening. I can truly make a difference. I can set the temperature in this room. I can have my babies believing that the sky is not even the limit, or I can have them think where they're at is the limit. It's great power in that, but it was very rewarding to me to prove the possible in my one classroom. And so, yeah, it's awesome.
So how long did you stay? And I'm curious on the career pathing. So, do you graduate to another class? How do they tap you on the shoulder to do more?
Yeah, so Teach for America itself is a 2-year experience. And so at the end of the 2 years, yes, you have a decision to make. The decision that I made at the end of my 2 years was I love teaching. I'm not sure that I want to teach second grade for long term. I was an English major, and in my mind, I wanted to teach English literature. So then I chose to take a quick sort of break to pursue a Master of Arts in Teaching English Literature, secondary English literature. And I attended a local college, all women's college, Agnes Scott College. And after I completed that program, I went on to teach high school English.
Nice. So I'm curious how the ethnic diversity was in your classrooms, and was it a big melting pot?
Oh, no. Mm-mm. No, so Atlanta is changing and growing in its diversity. But at the time that I came in 2001, in the area where I got to love and educate and where my school was, it was, I mean, I'm, I'll give a little leeway to myself, but it was most likely 98% or 99% black children and students. Um, so I didn't experience diversity until I moved a little bit outside of the city proper when I was serving as an assistant principal in Gwinnett County.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
I'm curious how your just own feelings about, I mean, I don't know if that was ever an advantage or a disadvantage being Black. I'm just wondering what your experience has been like.
For the students or for myself?
I would say for both. If you have the students, you have fellow teachers, you have the, I would say the management of schools. It's not a space I'm super familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Whew. That is a nuanced question. I mean, we know the systemic barriers. So in that way, I will say that it certainly has some very well-known barriers or disadvantages, if you want to name them that. But I think being Black is a beautiful advantage, if only the world could see it that way too. Um, yes, in my leadership journey, it has been an advantage in informing the love and personal integrity I bring to the work. Because when I look at the children that I got to be a part of their lives, I saw myself, little Mini'imah, growing up in East Oakland, California, with the Teach for America teacher. Um, but in some of my leadership experiences, it proved to be still this source of um, some challenges I just had to navigate on the basis of my identity alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is really important to just lean into because, I remember growing up and we had, one Black, one Chinese, and one Korean family. We were the Chinese
Mm,
family, right? So
okay.
I grew up feeling very, out in left field.
Mhm,
And as a youngster, all you want to do is fit in. Like you'll do basically anything to fit in. And then as you mature and come into your own about your identity, obviously I wouldn't have it any other way. And I
mhm,
totally embrace it. And so, we love that as an individual, we can love ourselves and feel great about ourselves, which obviously you have come to do. And I think the leadership opportunity, I think there's a real I guess it can be very deflating, can feel very bad, but at the same time, we have made a lot of progress and we need to make more progress. And just, appreciating every inch forward is an inch forward. There are barriers and they shouldn't be. Like
mhm,
we were with this IWF cohort at Nike when we started off and we listened to a woman who African American woman who literally was doing the job to be the president of the Portland Trailblazers. Like she could have been the first Black female NBA president ever. And she earned it. It was her job. And she went on to tell us how, you know, it, basically she was robbed. Right now, she was not bitter. I'm sure at the time it was super hard to deal with. But, I do want to just shout out to all the folks listening out here that we can be the change we want to see in the world. We can't make people do things that we
mhm.
would like them to do. And some of them are in powerful places. I get that. But figure out where can you find, a loose stone, a loose brick to kind of break through and stand for what you believe. Because if everybody does a little bit of that, Mini'imah, like you've been doing in spades, we can start to move. And I do just want to shout out, I understand the true frustration. I was just reading some numbers. The females in the workforce at the most senior levels, it's like 11%, in the CEO level. It's not commensurate at all with the number of the women in the workforce. So there's just work to be done. Right. And so I think one of the things I was so loved about your stature and your energy is you're just very much make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of curious. Did you have self-doubt through your career? Maybe when the doors weren't opening, how did you persevere through some of the hard times?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and you're so right. We can see challenge, and it certainly exists, or we can see opportunity, and it's just a choice. So I choose to see opportunity, and I certainly believe that change is possible. I believe change is unfolding. I believe that the women in our cohort, that's 38 super women tasked with creating a legacy project. And beyond that legacy project, tasked with paying forward all of this beautiful learning that we are engaging. So just that ripple effect alone gives me great hope and optimism. Yeah.
So what is it like for you if you do get down? And maybe you don't. Some
Mhm.
people are really, have a great deal of resilience. And I am wondering, being real as we are, when you've had some dark times, how have you handled those?
Mhm. Yeah. No, and that is me. That was the other part of that, rose that grew through concrete reflection that I had is just I am highly resilient, and that's a gift from God for me. I don't take claim over making myself resilient, but I am highly resilient. That has, its beauty, and it also has its burden or, really harm. So, I'm working in this season in my life to be more in tune with where resilience rubs up against actually self-harm. So one example I'll give you is in 2018, I was diagnosed with an aggressive breast cancer. This was before my first mammogram. And it was so aggressive. I was diagnosed in October 2018. By beginning of November, I was sitting in the chemotherapy room getting my first round of chemotherapy. And that was a 2-year journey with all the things, surgery, radiation, and a second round of chemotherapy that the doctor hadn't planned for, but I needed. Um, and I'm ashamed to say I'm ashamed to say this, but I'm not because prayerfully someone who needs to hear this will hear this. The thing that I prided myself on during that 2-year journey was going to work with a wig on, with fake eyebrows, with fake eyelashes, after chemotherapy. And I just thought that really meant something. And perhaps it does. I don't want to take away from what it might mean, but I also just have greater clarity, personal clarity for um, the alternate meaning of that as well. So all that to say, do I get down? Absolutely. My resilience gets me right back up. And what I'm working on now is the in between, taking a moment to just get in tune before I pop up and see what needs to come next. It may not be more doing, it might just mean taking a minute or doing nothing, but just pausing in
Yeah.
between. Hmm.
Yeah, in between, there's a lot of space. Mini'imah, who some mentors or role models? I mean, we can talk more about your mom because obviously she's one, but I'm curious, professionally, any folks that you saw that you wanted to emulate, or perhaps people you saw, you're like, wow, I really don't want to be like that.
My sheroes, have really been, and anyone who knows me, they know this is my real sheroes, are the one-room schoolhouse teachers.
Hmm.
So, your Mary McLeod Bethune, like, their tenacity to make a way when there was not one. I mean, when you read the story of Mary McLeod Bethune, she was making ink from berries in order to run her schoolhouse. I just love that so much. And recently, this might have been 7 years ago now. I got gifted a text message, and in it, it was a video of me in a play when I was in 5th grade. And I'll send it to you after this, Molly. But I was playing a woman, Clara Muhammad. And Clara Muhammad was another pioneer educator, a woman who started a school in her home. Well, I didn't even remember that I had played her in this 5th grade play. And then in 2012, I had started a school of my own. And it was just so powerful to me the way that life foreshadows. But my sheroes truly are one-room schoolhouse teachers and education pioneers.
Yeah, not a low bar. Okay, so did I hear you say you started a school?
I did.
Okay, so let's hear about that.
Okay. So I was working as an assistant principal in a neighboring county, and I loved it. And this county is known for people retire from this county, and so I was planning to, just progress. Put my head. This was my recipe. This is no longer my recipe, but my recipe was put my head down, do excellent work, eventually I'm going to get tapped, do the next thing, very linear. And so I was on that pathway in this county when a colleague came to me, said, Mini'imah, this was 2010, Mini'imah, want you to open our first KIPP elementary school in Atlanta. At that time, there had only been middle schools and then a high school. And I said, no, I'm here, in Gwinnett County. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to retire from here. And then he came back in 2011. He said, Mini'imah, I really want you to think about this. I said, well, let me at least see what this looks like for little people. Because I knew what it looked like in the middle school context and the high school context, if you're familiar with the KIPP model. But I didn't know what it looked like in 2011 for little people. And so I went to Houston as part of the application process, and I was able to see the first KIPP elementary school there. And when I saw it, I said, wow, I gotta do this. It was just the way that culture was so intentionally considered. I had not seen in all of my time as an educator. Um, and so then I spent a year designing the school. So that was 2011 all the way till 2012. I got a full school year, academic year to design the school, put everything that was, the fire in my belly, emanating in my heart on paper. And the goal was to operationalize that so it would move from my head to others' heads and hearts as well. And that is where my first sort of, I guess, stumbling block came because, KIPP is an innovation hub. So people were starting schools that were, at that time, this was revolutionary, blended learning schools. This was new then, it's not new now, but blended learning schools, technology based or performing arts schools or
Wow.
STEM schools. And what I wanted to start was a school based on the one room schoolhouse teacher, where love was the core value, where love would power the school, where everyone would love all of the children like they belong to all of us. And based on my experiences, that was revolutionary itself. And I got a lot of pushback because then, and maybe still now, I don't know, love was seen as really fluffy. Like, love is fluffy. What does that look like? How do you operationalize that? Love means so many different things to a lot of different people. And so it took me a great deal of time and really sort of like this oomph to push up against the pushback I was getting to really spell it out. Yeah.
And were you able to pursue the vision that you had?
Yeah. We opened our doors 2012 um, to over 100 kindergarten students. The stars happened to align, and my son was one of them. So we traveled that journey together, and visitors who came to learn from our school ultimately said, they said this was given to us, that love dripped from the walls. We got the, tagline, the school that love built. So everyone who put hand and heart into building that school, we were able to bring that vision to life together.
So talk about the ensuing years and building upon that. And then I do have, so, here you are working your butt off educating kids. So talk about your personal life and, having your son.
Yes. Um, Molly, I think a lot about that. Especially I have an age gap with my children. My eldest, who's a freshman in college, then I have a sixth grader. Mm. And recently I was talking with someone who, because a lot of people were saying when I took my son to college, the other moms would say, "Are you gonna cry? Are you crying?" And I'd say, "No." And then I'd feel self-conscious for not crying. I was happy for him, and I was ready for him to be out of my house because at 18 years old, his little chest was growing figuratively, and it was time. And so a dear friend challenged me. She said, "You just need to define what motherhood means for you, because I think I have carried a lot of guilt that I have sacrificed um, motherhood for uh, my other purpose, life's purpose, which is leading and educating others. So, yeah.
Yeah, you can have it all. You can't necessarily have it all at the same time. That's what I like to
Mm,
say, right? And I
mhm,
am curious what motherhood has taught you about leadership.
mm. It's definitely a labor of love. Leadership is like motherhood. Um, but yes, in the opening of my book, I say that about my eldest son because I had him at home. I birthed him at home. It was a long birthing experience, difficult birthing experience. One that if I was in the hospital, it probably would have led. I'm not a doctor, but I imagine it could have led to like an emergency surgery type of situation. So birthing him was a true labor, but a labor of love. And that is how I think about leadership because when done well, it is truly a selfless, risky experience. Um, but on the other side of it, ideally is a lot of love and impact. But that's been my experience with leadership. Yeah.
Do you have figures now that you aspire to or that guide you as you think about how you're evolving as a leader?
I'm not saying this because we're together, but I am a studier of people, and I felt that that was my job as a leader to study people. Um, on my executive leadership team, through the layers of our organization, external partners, etc. And so during our week together, I studied you. And what I love about you, Molly, is, and I named this as tenor, but your tenor is very even and matter of fact, but still clearly anchored in so much love and belief. And you have no other reason, from what I can tell, to carry that love and belief except that you authentically feel it. And that is wrapped in a very authentic, like I said, matter of fact tenor. And I appreciate that because it immediately, for me, engenders trust that what you're putting out is coming from the cells in your body, you know? So I will name, I have a great deal of admiration for you.
Thank you. That
Yeah.
was it's back at you 10 times, my
Okay.
friend, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So, I marvel at how you use your voice, and as listeners know, the whole "Say It Skillfully" is this is our most life-changing skill, and no one helps us do it. So, do you have back in history a recollection of an unskillful moment or a tough conversation that you had, or maybe you have one now that you wonder how to handle?
Yeah, I think generally, this was earlier in my leadership. I would say during my principal years, where I've always been courageous on behalf of mission, but I would have a really difficult times having necessary conversations with the teammates who I felt the most affection for, or who I was closest in proximity and working with. That
Mhm.
was where I really had the trouble. Um, if you were, a layer removed emotionally or things like that, I could sit down. We're going to have this necessary conversation. But what I realized is the impact I needed to be having were the ones who were immediately in my care. And that love actually, if I founded a school based on love, which I did, love is not present if you're not saying the damn thing, with the belief, like I just spoke about, belief that the person has the capacity to reach their highest potential, whatever that might be. And so really it just took me reaching my own personal breaking point of becoming intolerant for um adult behaviors that get in the way of what children need, to just start saying the damn thing in every direction with love, but very clearly, directly, unapologetically. And that leadership pivot has stuck. And thank God it has. I'm so grateful to be over that mountain Because it really is paralyzing. It doesn't serve the leader or the organization to not be over that mountain.
Yeah, thank you for wording it just that way because as a leader, your number one job is developing those around you, which includes sharing things that they may not want to hear or perhaps even disagree with us on. And the leaders who can find the way to kind of put the organization's aims out in front versus potentially my personal connection with someone, that's what we need. And it can be hard, but I want to say to folks, look at if you weren't in a role that was the right role for you, you probably know, number one. And number two, you don't really want to hide. And so I do think when people end up actually going there saying, hey, let's talk about this. How are you feeling about it? Here's what I'm seeing. Does this really work? You can get to a place, like call it transparency is your friend. It really helps everyone
Mhm.
feel better. And
Mhm.
so for the folks who are out there, I mean, this comes up like every day of my life. Oh, I don't want to tell so and so such and such. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, is that helpful to the organization? Is that helping you get more work done? Right. And to your point, you have to be kind of annoyed. You're like, wait a second, this is like a roadblock. It's
Mhm.
not going well. And I actually need to do something about it. So
Mhm.
kudos for you for turning that into a superpower.
Yeah.
Okay. We could go on and on forever, but I'm going to just transition to some fun topics. I'm
Sure.
curious on your hobbies. What hobbies do you have?
Oh gosh. Okay, Molly, I was just asked this question in therapy. Can't believe I just said that, but I was. And I froze because I am a truth teller. So I did not want to make up anything. And I literally came home and Googled a list of hobbies to see which ones might light my fire because work has been my hobby. I love it that much. Um, so I don't have any avid hobbies as of now, but what I have tried most recently is birding. I know. Yeah.
I have a good friend, and so I have been I've been on safari, so I like watching the animals. But because of my friend's just enamorization of birds, I'm like, well, maybe I should get into birding. And
Yeah.
so it's really like it's on my list too. That's so fun.
Yeah, I think you will love it. I had a chance to hear a speaker. His name is Jack Bruce. And he talks about the wellness benefits of birding. You're just out in nature. You're walking because you got to walk to see the birds. You're taking in fresh air in this beautiful nature environment. Um, and so everything he described, and then he showed pictures of the birds that he had seen. And I mean, he travels globally to find the birds on his list. But so I said, I want to try it. So I found a birding group here locally in Atlanta. They're actually called the Feminist Birding Club of Atlanta. And I think I'm becoming a feminist. That's a different story. But at 45, I think I'm becoming a feminist. So I said, well, this is perfect. I'm going to go out with the Feminist Birding Club of Atlanta. And I went out for the first time. I took my little with me, my sixth grader, and we had our little binoculars. And it was everything that Jack described. I mean, you're walking, it's peaceful, you're with a group, so you're in community, you're looking up, you're taking time to see. It was incredible. So, yeah.
I love it. That is phenomenal. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to define introvert as derives energy from within, and extrovert derives energy externally from other people. So not an index of sociability per se. Would you say you're more introvert or extrovert?
100% introvert from by that definition. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
That's how I am. I roll that way too. Although I love it when people tell me, oh, no, you're not an introvert. I'm like, oh, okay, you can tell me what I
Right.
think. Exactly. Okay. So what might people or even people who are close to you find surprising about you?
Hmm. I'm really tenderhearted, which is so interesting. I think people find me to be stoic. Yeah, which is so interesting. Um, I'm really tender. So, yeah, I don't know a better way to say that. I think at a first glance, people can find me to be very stoic, um, emotionally constant, um, Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
it's protecting the tender core. I know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. If you look back, assuming everything is the way it is still, right? But do you have a do over or even a regret that you would share?
Yeah, I would. I mean, that it really builds off of that cancer story I told you. I mean, I don't want to scoff at my former self because she deserves to be held too. But the thought that I thought it was awesome to be working through that experience is just, it's interesting that that is where my perspective was at the time. And again, I hold that with reverence, but I am certainly evolved in that thinking and just grounded in the undoubted truth that life is precious and we could say short, however you want to put that. So some of these things that we believe we're earning stripes for, I just don't buy into at this point.
Yeah. I really want to call out your ability to be compassionate to yourself and just be able to look at that and say, probably not what I would do now, but understand that I did it then. And I just want folks to realize, look, we're all making it up as we go, folks. And
Mhm.
I think when you hit struggles and bumps, it really is about how do you recover from it? And do you let it be a boat anchor and drag you down? Or do you find a way to learn from it and be better, even if it might not be something you would do again? So I really
Yes.
appreciate your showing that because we have to love ourselves and lead ourselves first if we're going to have any shot at all and potentially leading others. That's just how that
Mm,
has to roll,
I
right?
love that. I love that.
So I know you're on a journey. So I'm curious, what do you think is off next for you? I mean, I'm just curious. I think lots of times when you're in I call it the gerbil wheel, you're just running, 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 right? It's kind of hard to put your head up.
Mhm.
But especially because you had this experience with your fellow cohort members, is there something that you've landed on and maybe not yet on like how you want to have your impact or what you see ahead?
The Legacy Project was actually an incredible gift because even through the selection process for the cohort, I had to sit with myself and think about what would I want to give to this experience in the world as a legacy project. And so I did pour my heart on the page in May during the application process and then just continued to sit with it through learning that I was selected and then the kickoff of our fellowship in October. Um, and it truly lights my fire what I'm thinking about. And I have this dream, Molly, and it is that one day women will lead without barriers to their brilliance. And for the last 10 years, I've been coaching women leaders, one on one executive leadership coaching, while also leading myself and experiencing for myself many of the stories and challenges that they were sharing with me through their coaching. And I think there is a compliment to coaching. I actually paused going into last school year. After a decade, I just said, I need to take a minute because it's just sort of like you're having these locker room conversations, reflective, pumping up and sending you back in and break, going back into the same rooms, the same environments, um, trying to have a stronger spine to do so. But I think there's more to be done to support women leaders and their brilliance.
Yeah,
So,
I think that we have to we could do a whole episode on your project. Can you give folks just a summary of where it's at? I love it. I love it.
okay. Well, we're in this age of technology, and, I don't think anything is wholly bad or wholly good. It's how we use the tools available to us for good. So I'm thinking a lot about technology for good in support of women and their leadership. Um, and many times, what I saw through my coaching and my own experiences, women are brilliant. We know that. Women are everything, and they're resilient and they're courageous. They have candor and ingenuity, all the things you need to be successful in leadership. But the stumbling block that I saw time and time again was sort of these blind spots or lack of visibility into how organizations truly move when it comes to power and influence, these subtexts that don't get named or seen. And so I want to make those visible because I believe that when women are able to see things, get rid of those blind spots, it's a game changer. It's gonna be a game changer.
Yeah, I love that ability to help people use the technology to navigate the real landscape.
Mhm,
And I think that that reality check is important. And also to, I wrote this Say It Skillfully book because so often we're playing the game. We're playing the game, play the game, play the game. So basically you win. And what I see and what you're doing is how do I change the game
mhm,
fundamentally
mhm,
so that overall performance improves and everyone wins. It's this
absolutely.
less of a horse race, me pick you, but it's, hey, how can we actually win this together? And I think that's something that people conceptually say, but not necessarily do our behaviors support that. And I love where you're going on with that. You've done a lot already. Do you have a proudest accomplishment? Could be work or personal.
Mm, believe it or not, I have a lot. I have several things that I'm very grateful to have, experienced and achieved. Molly, showing up in this hat looking like this today on camera is huge for me because I've had to be so prim and proper. So initially thinking that this would just be audio recorded. And so having this wrinkled shirt on and makeup free and pulling it together quickly and being on camera, this is huge for me. And I'm grateful that you nudged me to take this. It's not really a leap, but for me it's a leap. And if we had more time, I could really explain why, but that's not necessary. Just know, like, these small moments of evolution, I hold them dear and they feel so sticky and uncomfortable, even the small moments. And then it's like, oh, you did it. And you could do it again and you could do it in bigger ways. So I'll name that one for today.
I think that is absolutely perfect. And to be who you are and show up as you are, folks, that's what we want. That's what we need. We don't need social media glamour. We don't need, poofy drinks with umbrellas in them, being real. And as I can hear in your voice, just really wanting to serve the greater good. And when you really, my mentor to live is to serve, Frances Hesselbein, emblazoned that in my brain. And it's so true because when you have that, it doesn't seem like work. Actually, it
Yes.
just really, really does feel like a hobby in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Okay, rapid fire. If you're not an educator, and I know you're purpose built to be an educator, like what profession would you do in your next life?
Mm, that's juicy. I might be a food reviewer. I think a lot of people say that that's an awesome career, but I think I could do a really good job of that and fit a perfect niche. Or yeah, that might be awesome.
That would be awesome. Okay, any nicknames you can share?
Uh, my family calls me Minnie. I don't love it, but it has stuck like glue. So
That's fantastic.
my family
Uh,
calls me Minnie.
Favorite food or favorite cuisine?
Mm. Yes, I love a good steakhouse. I
Nice.
do. Yeah,
I
you
did
can
not
find me
expect
there on my
that.
yeah, and I eat on my own, so you can find me there just randomly. If you're looking for me, I'm probably somewhere having a really good meal by myself.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Okay, you have shared a lot, and you are reflective, but I also know you're in an uber reflective period.
Mhm.
So, if you kind of reflect on all that you've been sharing with us, do you have a top takeaway as you've kind of looked outside in on your journey?
Yeah. Uh, This is in alignment with the wisdom you just gifted, which is just give yourself grace. Mini'imah, I'm speaking to myself. Give myself grace. I have been groomed to be high achieving, and I thank God for that. Everyone who has planted that seed of high achievement has done so with beautiful, well intent. And at this time and in this season, I want to be even more gracious with myself. And that's the commitment I've made. You talked about making a commitment at one point in your life where you were going to just say every day was fabulous. And I love that because it was so decisive, and pivotal and clear. And that is the commitment I'm making, is just to give myself grace.
I love it. That's fabulous. Mini'imah, what was it like for you to share your journey with us today?
Mm, liberating, scary to start, um, safe with you, and freeing.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate you and how you are part of the solution. And you're helping us all to be safe and seen and heard and our true and very, very best selves. And as you know, and our paths will continue to cross, I am here for you any way that I can be of help.
Thank you.
Okay? You take good care, my friend. We will
Thank you,
cross paths
Mary.
very soon. Take care.
Okay,
Ciao,
bye.
ciao, ciao. Okay, folks. As you can hear, Mini'imah is in a league of her own in using her voice skillfully in creating the collective communication for everyone to win. So I want to help you do the same. Check out my Say It Skillfully 101 program on sayitskillfully.com and our new #1 best-selling book. And I hope that it helps you use your voice with confidence, with clarity, with impact. I do want to share a final thought, a quote from Mini'imah. I heard this, and to have the tenacity to make a way. And that is a wrap, friends. I want to thank you for joining us. Please be part of the solution and kindly share this show. Amplify Mini'imah's voice. Reflect on your top takeaways. And know I'm cheering for you to be who you are and say what needs to be said skillfully to let you and those around you create the shared reality that is essential for our very best outcomes, both at work and in our lives.
Say It Skillfully is finding your authentic voice and learning how and when best to use it with confidence, clarity, and impact. Most communication and personal development preach playing the game so you win. Say It Skillfully teaches you how to change the game so performance improves and everyone wins.